Okay, so Python is a programming language that is fairly simple to learn, and it's also extremely powerful. So in this tutorial, I'll just be teaching you how to do some basic functions in Python, and also how to download and install the necessary softwares. So the first thing you need to do to begin is just download the necessary programs that you would need, and there are actually two. So you need an IDE and the actual Python. So what you could do is just go to www.python.org and you would get this page, and once you reach this page you have this small little corner which you says download, and there are two available versions to download, and what you could do is just read through them and see which ones offer what the features that you like. So after clicking that, you would just follow the prompts and go ahead. So the next thing is you need an IDE. So there are actually a lot of different types of IDEs that are available. This is just one of them. So it's called Wing. And what you could do is just go to Wing IDE, and then you get this page. And you choose which one you would like. The Pro, I believe you need to actually pay for it, and then the Personal is free. So if you go to Personal, you would get this page, and then on the right side, you get to choose which type of program you'd like to install. Okay, so a little bit about Wing. So Wing is actually an application that allows you to develop programs in Python. It includes an editor for source codes, debugging, and running code, and identifying and viewing errors, and more. It is also available on OS, Windows, and Linux. So some basic things that you need to learn before actually programming are you need to learn how to do your comments properly and the naming conventions as well. So in order to write a comment in Python, you need to have a hashtag in front of whatever you're writing, and within that specific line, whatever is written will be ignored by the program, and it's not going to be executed or performed. So here's an example right here. I'm using an online source code because I'm not using my computer that has it. Okay, so you can just write anything really. And as you see, it's showing in green. Nothing's going to happen. So now that we got comments down, we can do the naming conventions. So you usually name conventions when you're using variables. So this can be used with snake case, and of course it's not going to affect your code or anything like that, but it is really important for the readers and anybody that's going to see your code, because it just makes everything look nice and neat. So snake case just means that everything is lowercase, and then you just put some an underscore within. So the next thing that you need to do is variables. So just remember that in Python, variables, they don't need to be declared. So you don't need to write like integer x or anything like that. You just write it down, and the computer automatically detects it. So here's an example that I could just write name, and then I'll make this a string. So write down my name. Okay, so I've got my variable down and my comment. So now, printing variables. So before printing a variable, you need to actually kind of type it in first and assign it to a value. So once you do that, you can see that you can print it, and all you do is you just type print and the variable's name. And then once you execute this, it's going to print my name. So an easier way, which you can actually see, yeah, so it printed my way. So I can even show you how the naming conventions is used. So I could put another one called sister's name. And also you don't need to have the double quotes. It's not necessary. You could have double or single quotes. And then I would just do a comma and then write down the name. And as you can see, I've used snake case. Pretty sure it's called that. Okay. Now while it's running, oh, it ran. Okay. Yeah, so as you can see, it printed out the two values of my variables. Okay, so lastly in this page, I'll be showing you how to collect the user's input. So I've cleared my source code right here, and maybe I could do the lucky number. So I could do something like this. So I write my variable's name, so lucky number input, and of course your variable names should make sense. And then what I would do is I just write down input, and then I type down what I want the user to write. See, so I'd write enter your lucky number, and then okay, and then I can also do something like that. Okay, so what this would do is it would collect the user's input, and then now that I know what the user's input is, I could just write down, I could tell the program to print whatever number that was put in. So I'll put my lucky number as like 90, something like that, or 900. And then now when you execute it, what it's going to do is the program is going to actually compile and enter the lucky number that was entered. So it was 900. Okay, so now the next thing that I'll be showing you is how to do basic maths or arithmetics in Python. So performing these math functions, it's not really hard or anything. It's the same thing, same basis of what you do every day. It's just written a little bit differently. So over here you can see I'll just do maybe add. So I can add 7 plus 8. And then I could just do something like number is equal to 7 plus 8. And then I could just do print that number and then execute. And when you run it, it's just going to add the two numbers together. Or you could have just, yeah. And then now to subtract, if I wanted to subtract these two numbers, I could do 19 minus 9. And so we got 10. So another thing which you could do is you could actually multiply. So I could do 10 times 10. And to get this multiplication thing, all you need to do is hold Shift and then 8, and you get this little asterisk, and that is what multiplication is in Python. So when I click Run, I get my 100. And then another thing which you could do is another basic arithmetic is you could also divide it. So division in Python is just a backslash, so backslash like that. And then you put the other number which you want to divide it by. And then what I could do is I could just click execute and run it. And we've got 10. Okay, so these are just a few of the basic arithmetics that can be done. So you can do a lot of other things like modulus, exponents, and so on. So another thing which is important is another function is if statements. So if statements can be created using three main commands. So if, elif, and else. Okay, and here I've got a little example program. So I've basically a comment over each important section. So what this area does is it retrieves the user's input, and then I've got my variable here in snake caps. I've got the input. This is what the user would see. And then now I've got my if statements. So as I said before, the three main are if, elif, or else. And what this does is this area checks if the user is ready to retire. So if the age input is greater than or equal to 65, it would just print to the screen that, oh, you can retire. Same thing, if the age input is greater than or equal to 14, then it would say that you can work. And I could have written or here, and then or age input is greater than less than 65, but this is also another way. So you could either create two elifs or just one. And then the last one is, so if none of these apply to the number that I've written, then it's going to say that you're too young to work. So I'll just show an example right here. I'll write down 67 and I'll execute it. And the program says that you can retire, so you're allowed to retire at this age. And so that was just a basic kind of information of writing if statements and else if statements, etc. So now I'm going to be showing you how to create the Boolean expressions in Python. And so these Boolean operators are just things that are just either if something is just false or true. And what I can be showing you how to do this is you could just write this is a sample small little program that I just made, and what this does is it checks if the answer makes sense or not. So add is equal to 1 plus 1, and then what this would do is it would check if add is equal to 2, then yes, it makes sense, and it would print out the Boolean expression, so if it is true or not. So here's an example. I'll just execute it, and yes, it is true. So what if I made this answer to be 1 plus 5, so 6. And now if I executed it now, my program would tell me that the answer is wrong. And so that was just a brief example of how to use some various Boolean operators. And so the next thing that we will be doing is actually just some string methods. So I'll go back to my editor and I will just delete everything that are here. And I'll just create a program that would illustrate how to use various string methods. So one example which I could use is I could create a string method that would check the length of my name. So I'll just create a variable right here and then I'll store a string, my name. So then what I would do is I could do print the length of my name. Okay, now when I click execute, yay, so it printed the amount of letters that are in my name. And keep in mind that also spaces, they do account for an extra letter. So if I were to do something like this, instead of getting 9 letters or length, I would actually get 10, and that's because each space that you take up, it's considered to be a character as well. So another one that I could do if I wanted to make my whole name uppercase letters is I could just create another variable and then write down my name string, and then I could do something like dot upper, and then of course I got our brackets. And then when I click print upper name, name. Now when I execute, all of my name would be in capital letters. And I can do the same thing if I wanted to be in lowercase. So I'll just do lower. Lower. And then of course I gotta edit the name here. The variable name. Okay, and then now if I click run, I would get my name in all lowercase. And so these are just a brief demonstration of the string method. So there are a lot of different string methods that are there, and they can be used for so many different ways or uses. Okay, so yeah, that was all that I needed to show for this tutorial, and it just contained some essential information that could be used to build on to other skills in Python and other languages as well. So yeah, that was my tutorial, March 8th, 2018.